What it do, people? Welcome to another video. So in this video, I'm actually going to be showing you how I edit gym photos for Instagram. So pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through my Adobe Lightroom, show you a couple example photos, then get into pretty much how I like my edits and how I actually go about doing those edits step by step. So without any further delay, let's just go ahead into Lightroom and check out the process. Let's go. All right, you guys, as you can see, we're inside Adobe Lightroom right now, and on the screen is going to be the subject picture of this video, but I actually wanted to go through and show you just a couple other pictures just to give you a sense of my editing style and what I like to do with my photos. So as you can see, this is the picture we're going to be working on today. This is the after product, and the before product is boom. So we're going to touch on just the details of what I did a little bit later, but as you can see, you know, drastic difference. Gonna go ahead to this photo right here of me outside. This is the after and this is the before. So got the before right there, the after right there. So, you know, you let me know how you like the differences in these photos. Gonna show you a couple more. Here's a photo of my wife. This is the after again, and then boom, that's the before. This one isn't a, you know, drastic difference, but as you can see, that after that background, you know, we kind of just made the background a little flat just so, you know, she'll pop out more with that pink shirt. And this photo right here, this other photo of her, this is actually an after, but I actually did something further after this. Let me show you. So this was the before, not a bad photo, but boom, gave it that look. But I didn't really like what I did with her eyes and the shutter speed. I was actually catching her in the movement, so kind of made her eyes a little dark because I had the shutter speed up. So went ahead and, you know, just edited the eyes too. So a lot goes into this sometimes, you know, pictures come out good out of camera, but this is the last photo right here. As you can see, another photo of me in the gym. This is the after and that's the before. Really dark, you know, it's a good photo, but you really can't see it. So like I said, boom, that's the after. We just, you know, brightening things up and color correcting. So let's go back to our photo, which is the subject photo of this video. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually reset all of these edits and take it back to the dark state. So just this photo off the back, you know, it's not a bad photo as it is, but background, the whole photo overall is a little bit dark. I'm a little bit dark. I mean, you can obviously see me and see what I'm doing, but just, you know, dark me plus dark background plus this, you know, this blue up here is red. I mean, that's actually how it looks, but you know, for a photo that you're going to be posting to Instagram, I mean, this is obviously underexposed, meaning that it's dark and it's just not too, you know, flattering or eye-catching of a picture. So the number one thing that I do before I start editing a photo, of course, I bring it into Lightroom and then I go to the edit tab. And the number one thing I do is these two things right here. So when you've never used Lightroom before, you know, you come in, you're gonna see your profile, light, color, effects, all that stuff. So I like to go to the optics right here, and then I remove all the chromatic aberrations, which removes all the chromatic aberrations in that, you know, in any photo. I'm not going to get into exactly what that is, but I also like to enable lens correct, which pretty much it didn't do anything for this photo, but sometimes when you enable that, you might have a photo that you take where it's like kind of warpy or distorted, and that would fix that, and it might like fix like any vignetting, you know, which you might have in your photo, which I'll touch on vignetting later. So as you can see, like I said, that's what I like to do first. We're gonna move back up to the light settings of the photo. So as you can see, you have your exposure, your contrast, your highlight, shadows, and whites and blacks. So pretty much everything under light controls the light of the photo. So we know my photo is dark, so let's see what the exposure does. As you see, you know, take it down, makes the photo darker. Take it up, makes the photo, you know, brighter. So we don't want it too bright, you know, we just want it, make sure it's at the level we want. But if you want to control the overall just brightness of any photo, you're good to go with the exposure. Now, if you just want to control certain aspects of the light, you know, you want to go down to like your highlights, shadows, whites and blacks. As you can see, like, see this whole shadow area looks a little dark. If I want to just like, you know, the shadow areas of the photo to be a little bit brighter, what I would do is just control the shadows, and like anything that's like, you know, shadow, you see I got it at 100, that would light up, you know, but you know, we don't necessarily want that. And as far as like your whites and blacks, it's kind of like the same thing. Like anything that's black, if we want the blacks in our photo to be brighter, we want to play with the blacks. Or if we want the whites to be brighter or darker, you know, play with the whites. Or if we want the highlights to be, you know, any highlighted areas like the window, the lights, the light bouncing off the floor, if we want that to be brighter or darker, we want to play with that. So for this photo, I didn't take the exposure up too much. I think I went to like 62, something like that. 63 should be fine. I'm sorry, I didn't touch on contrast. So contrast pretty much, it stretches like the lighter parts, and like it makes the lighter parts lighter and the darker parts darker. So if you take the contrast all the way up, it's actually gonna make your photo pretty dark. At least with this photo anyway. So like I said, if you want a faded look, you would take the contrast down or all the way down, or however you did. So I was kind of satisfied with the level of contrast in this photo. So I think I actually took it down, because after I did everything, it was kind of dark in my opinion. So I actually took it down a little bit. Now for highlights, I actually took these all the way down to about like 60, because I really like what it does as far as like letting you see through the window. And I just kind of always, like in all my photos, I really like the highlights down, because I feel like it just makes everything else, you know, look better, at least when you're editing photos in the gym. As far as shadows, like I said, it's gonna brighten up the shadows for you. I went ahead and had that at about 30, you know, just to brighten up those black areas. And I don't like, sometimes it'll make my blacks a little too faded looking. You know, I like what it does when it brings out like the shadowy areas, but I don't want my blacks to look like, you know, faded black. So I added about -5 back on the blacks. And as far as the whites, I took those down a bit too, to like negative, yeah, 20, 21 looks good. So as you can see, just off our playing with our light settings, it's already a drastic difference. You know, it's just more of the photo. You can see it looks better. It's not just all like depressing and dark looking. So after we move down to, from our light settings, you go to color. Now this is really how you make the photo pop. But actually, before I go to color, I'm actually gonna go to effects. Now, just real briefly on these effects. Now you have texture, clarity, dehaze, vignette. Now vignette, which I don't believe I did anything as far as the vignette in this photograph, it's gonna, like if you put it up, it's gonna make the outside of your, you know, outside edges of your photo lighter or darker. You know, it serves its purpose when you need it, when you want to use it, but in this photo, it just really wasn't no need for it, because I just wanted to be like just a perfectly, you know, well exposed photo. If I was doing a portrait or something like that, maybe I would play with the vignette, so the center object or whatever is the subject of the photo can be like more like just, you know, emphasized, but didn't do anything with the vignette. Now the texture, this pretty much, if you put it up, as you can see, let me zoom in here, it actually makes like the edges, the texture of the photograph a little like rigid, and it's really not something I use a whole lot of. As you can see, it's all the way up, looks a little funny, looks a little fake. Put it all the way down, you know, it just changes the look of your photo. So I really don't mess with texture a little bit. The photo was a little bit soft to me, so I did add about like 5, but that was about it. As far as clarity is concerned, now when you move your clarity up, let me zoom in again, it gives your photo more of like a, I guess, a harder look, kind of brighter, kind of harder, kind of a little bit rigid. It serves its purpose when you need it, but again, this isn't something that I like to use a whole lot of. And when you put it back, it gives your photo like kind of like a softer look, which again, it's not something that I would normally use for a photo like this. Sorry about that. So we're gonna go back to the clarity. Where we at though? Yeah, so for the clarity, I did take it up to about like 10, just for like a little subtle little effect, but didn't really use too much clarity at all. As far as the dehaze, I didn't touch this either. One thing about the dehaze is when you take it up, makes your photo just a little bit more punchy as far as the colors, and a little dark. And when you take it back, it just kind of fades it out. I didn't mess with the dehaze at all in this photo as well, because with it being indoors in the light, it just didn't really serve a purpose. I find that like when you shooting outside, based on how your photo was captured, sometimes it might be a good thing, but like I said, I didn't really use it at all in this photo. And just a quick before and after, as you can see, boom, already looking great. So we're gonna go back to the color, because we didn't touch the color now. Color temperature is one thing that you may or may not have to actually mess with. This is pretty much gonna, you know, either you want your photo cold, it's gonna make it blue, or you're gonna want it to be warm. Now, if you got your camera settings jacked up, you may have to edit this, but I wouldn't worry about that too much. The tint as well, that has to do with the white balance as well. So when you're using a camera, like I said, if you don't have your white balance set correctly, your photo might come out a little green. And as you can see, it's like either green or it's magenta, what they call it. So if your photo is too magenta, you wanna add some green in it. If your photo is too green, you wanna add magenta in it, and you wanna balance that with the warm and cold slider to get the perfect white balance. But this white balance on this photo was actually perfect, so didn't have to worry about that. Now, as far as the vibrance, that's gonna add like a punchy look to your colors without making the photo dark like the dehaze does. So for this one, I wanted that red to pop a little more, so I added about 20 on the vibrance, just to give the red a little bit more pop. And as far as saturation, this pretty much like makes any color on this photo like super duper strong. And I really don't like to mess with the saturation a lot, because I find that, like, see on my skin, like I look like just an orange man. It's too much. Like, if you don't need it, I wouldn't mess with it. So and of course, if you take it that way, if you want a black and white photo, take the vibrance and the saturation all the way down. So didn't mess with the vibrance, kept that pretty much at 0. And next we have the color tabs. Now this is where you're gonna really give your picture a little bit of character. So for this one, as you can see, I said something about that blue earlier I didn't like. Now mostly, as you can see in my other gym photos I showed you, at least the ones that were indoors, I don't really like too many like different like colors going on, because even though like the picture as it is now looks fine, I just like to emphasize on me. And of course it's red, as you see, it's red going on in my hat, red going on in my knee sleeves here, red weights, red this. So I just kind of like the red, black, gray, a little bit of white, the light, that's cool for me. So almost every other color I'm gonna kind of take out. So once you click on it, you got hue, saturation, and luminance. So let me show you what on the blue, since it's actually blue in this photo. So if I want this blue up here to be like a little bit more purple, I would change it like that. Or if I wanted to be a little bit more green, I would change it like that. Or I guess that's teal. So as you see, the colors, the purple's over here, teal's over here. So if I want the blue to be more like the colors to the left and to the right, I would play with that. If I want the blue to be a little bit stronger, only the blue, I would, play with the saturation, which I don't want the blue at all. I'm just, letting you know what the different levels do. And as far as luminance, if I want the blue to be a little bit more lighter, I would cut the luminance up. Or if I wanted to be darker, I would cut the luminance down. So I actually took blue out of the photo completely, dropped it to 0. But as you can see, it's still a little bit of like purplish in here. So what I did was I actually took the blue out, took the purple out. That made it completely like gray looking. I took this pink magenta looking color out, took the teal out, and I took the green out. Now, when this comes to skin tones, you have to really be careful what you do with your reds, orange, and yellow, because those are pretty much the colors that make up your skin tones. So I think for this photo, I left the yellows alone. But as you can see, let me show you, like, I'm a black dude, so if I put this up, I'm gonna get lighter. If I put this down, I'm gonna get darker. So like I said, you really have to really be careful. If I wanna be a purple guy, boom, or boom. You know, I can be the Hulk or whatever. You don't really have to be careful what you do. So for the oranges, I did take it up just a little bit towards the yellow at about like 10. And then I took the saturation down as well to like 6. And then raised the luminance up to like 16. And that I felt gave me like a good little balance. Excuse me. And then I took the reds down to like, I'm sorry, the luminance down to like -30 on the reds. Yeah, just to kind of give the machines and the weights and things just a little darker tint. And you know, I felt like that really kept my skin color intact without changing too many things. So next tab I don't think I touched on is the detail tab. Now sharpening, I really don't mess with sharpening because if you tend to raise sharpening up, it gives your photo like look at that, too damn sharp. So I didn't mess with sharpening at all in this photo, but I did mess with the noise reduction. Now, as far as noise reduction, it's really good when like your photo is like noisy, meaning like it's kind of like, it could be kind of, I guess the way to describe it would be like blurry looking a little bit. Like you'll see like just little artifacts or just little like kind of reminds you of like, you know, when you watch TV back in the day and like the core come out and you see that white channel and be like, shh, it's kind of, it'll kind of look like that. So, I don't like to cut it all the way up because it makes it look too smooth. Like that's just looking too fake. Sometimes some of my photos, depending on what I'm shooting, you know, it's appropriate, but in this photo, it really wasn't too appropriate. I kind of wanted just a little bit of that like realistic type of gritty look, but I think I had that at about 10. 11's not bad. Yeah, I had that at about 11. And as you can see, before and after right there, boom. That pretty much gave us, you know, the exact look. Now there's one more thing that I did to this photo that is pretty much like the major key of like doing specific edits on a photo. And I really just learned this, didn't just learn it, but a couple months back. And this is gonna be your selective edits right here. So this is what you would use if you only wanna edit like a certain part of an image. Let me explain. So say for some reason, I wanted my head like dark or something. As you can see, I put a circle around my head and then, you know, I play with the exposure, boom. Make my head dark, you know, black. Or if I wanted, say if my head was completely like for some reason my body was like well lit and my head was dark, there was too many shadows on my head, you know, I can raise the shadows. So pretty much with this photo, what I did put one around my head. Let me stretch it. Because I felt like my head was just a little too dark. And then I raised the exposure, not too much. It was like about 60. Yeah, like 60-ish. Yeah, so I did raise up. And like I said, you know, that literally only raises the exposure on whatever you put it on. So I decided to put it on my head. And then I just felt like my head was a little too dark. And then also too, as you see my eye, didn't really like that shadow. Like it looked like I look like a raccoon, you know what I'm saying? For people that like to zoom in on your face. So I put another one right here on my eye. I'll stretch that one out. And then I actually raised the shadows on that. It was about like 40 or so. And you can actually see my eyelid now. See what I'm saying? Look at the difference. So dark, look like I got a black eye. And 41 is fine. And as you can see, now my face looks well lit. Like we got our colors, you know, popping, got our background pretty much flat like I like. And I just feel like, you know, coming from this, which again, isn't a bad picture, but with the edits, everything just pops out. Everything just looks, you know, like well balanced. And I just feel like with these edits and just this type of editing strategy, I guess. Photos just stand out better, you know, for Instagram. All right, guys, so that's pretty much the process in which how I edit my gym photos for Instagram. If you did enjoy this video and found any type of value in it, I would really appreciate it if you guys can smash that like button for me. And if you stayed tuned for this entire video and you're seeing this part, man, shout out to you. I really appreciate the support. If you're not subscribed to my channel, you can just go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. I would really appreciate that too. And until my next video, I'm gonna catch you guys later on. Peace out, baby.